As I'm talking with a muted mic, we'll try it again. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first Friday night live stream. I'm your host, Thomas Gazier, and I've got a couple guests that are going to come on, and we can talk about things. We got a couple clinics if we get to that point. I'd like to welcome everybody. Welcome Randy, Di, Roy, Dan's Model Railroading Journey, Tim. I think Wiggy Waggy walked in here. Thanks, guys, for joining us. These Friday night shows, we hope to talk about schedules of upcoming events in the TCD or Thousand Lakes region, or even the national NMRA if you come on. We'll have clinics, we'll have some guest interviews, and we're going to promote some NMRA, Thousand Lakes region, and Twin Cities division content. Hopefully we can get this going. Can you hear me now? Okay. See if anybody, I see Diana says we can't hear me. So as you can see across the screen, we have Thousand Lakes Region Annual Convention is coming up in May. It'll be at the Best Western Bloomington at the Mall of America. They're planning lots of great events, clinics, tours, Saturday night social, some operation sessions. And we'll be bringing on a guy who's kind of in charge of all the clinics here in a bit. Get old Joe, and I see David Hamilton, our latest master model railroader, is on there. Also, I'll post it up there tomorrow. The North Metro Club. North Metro Model Railroad Club is having a flea market and an open house for their huge layout. And that's going to go from 9 to 2. And that'll be pretty good. And also the Newport Club will have their flea market in January 14th at the Woodbury High School. And that's always a positive one. And then our next live meeting will be December 17th at a location to be determined. Ken Zeska couldn't be here tonight, but he's creating quite an event. I think we all might be able to run some trains and have some fun. And Joe, are you ready? Can you give me a thumbs up? And Dave, I can add to the stream. There's David. And there's Joe. Hello, guys.
Hey, Tom.
And hello, David. You guys know David from the podcast.
Yep. Dave the Pod.
And Dan says he only wants to hear Diana G. That's probably true compared to my voice. So, David, I asked to be on here to give some commentary of some things coming up. And Joe, maybe I'll make you larger. See what what are you up to doing there?
This is a Great Northern 256. So it's a FT set that I'm working on for my friend Rich Ramirez. And I've changed out the number boards, filled in the side number boards, and took some Stewart ones and grafted those on. And now I'm fighting with this Detail Associates etched metal set to cover the grills on the side. I did that on a set I built several years ago, the 249 set, and it worked fine. And I don't remember anything bad about it, but this thing is giving me a lot of difficulty, so I'm going to start swearing soon. So
what is the etched metal? Is that the grills? What are you exactly adding?
Right. So this piece behind here, I don't know if you can see that, this silver piece behind it replicates the framing behind it. And then I have a little grill piece that will go over the top. And then when I get to painting, I'll just spray over the top of those. The reason is that when Stewart tooled these, they tooled them too far recessed into the side, so they don't look right. So that's what it's going to, whoops, get off there, you rat. That's what it will look like eventually. Whoops. So that, I don't know if you can see that or not.
So you'll see the superstructure behind the
grate.
grill.
Right. So I think what I'm going to do, and I think it occurs to me that maybe I did that last time. I don't know if you can see it. It kind of has a full rectangle with just that triangle and square in the corner. I'll cut off the entire rectangle and just glue this piece in there, and then glue the grate over the top. And then eventually I'll have to bend all the handrails, and there's some oil coolers that are air coolers that go down here just to make them look like the real thing more and be detailed. Rich has a very detailed layout, and we want to make the locomotives and rolling stock match it.
What kind of glue will you use on that etched metal?
Well, I was thinking of using this stuff. Our friend Larry recommended it, and I got this from Hobby Lobby, and it's a thick white glue type thing. And I've thinned some here, and of course I over thinned it, so I've got to put some more in there. But it's a flexible glue. I think the last time I used cyanoacrylate or super glue, and the pieces are kind of popping off now after 10 years. So I don't want to use that. I want to use something a little more flexible. So this guy's not fitting into the opening where he's supposed to go. So I'm filing and that kind of stuff. And I think I'm just going to cut those pieces off and maybe put just a little strip in the end, of course. And then it'll match height for the when I put the grill on. So I've got like 16 pieces to go, so this will be fun. I haven't started the first one yet.
And those are Stewart shells?
These are Stewart units. Yeah, Rich has already done all the electronics and that kind of stuff. They have sound decoders in them. They run really nicely together. So it's going to be an A-B set. No, this way. No, this way. Should go. So it'll pull the freights on some of the locals on his really nice Great Northern layout.
Is that hole on the top for the speaker?
No, there's an insert for the dynamic brakes that goes in there, and I just haven't put those in yet. But that would let the sound out nicely, wouldn't it?
Sure.
Were those FTs, did they have drawbars between them? They didn't have couplers. I know the ABs, were they semi-permanently coupled?
Yeah, eventually they did design a coupler to go between them so you could break up the units. But as delivered, you couldn't start an A unit without the B unit because it didn't have the batteries for the A unit. But they changed that around as they figured out that they wanted to have more flexibility with the units.
Okay. David, I know you modeled at CB&Q. They had FT units too as well, but were they around in your era?
I think they were pretty much all traded in by 1970. You know, there might have been a few that were still running. They had taken the drawbars out of them much earlier, and they were all just running as separate units mixed up with everything else that they had. So since I don't adhere to a 100% accurate roster, I don't have any FTs, which isn't to say that I couldn't have some FTs going forward. So
I think everyone should have some FTs.
Oh, yeah,
Anyone
you too,
got
Tom.
any questions for Joe? Send them now. Did you paint and decal those, Joe?
Not yet. These are as delivered. So I've got to take off this lettering and put the Empire Builder lettering on it, and obviously paint here. And then when I put those grills on, I'll have to paint those too. So I'm going to try and save as much as I can. But like I said, this lettering will go.
Are you going to try the William Sampson paint remover then?
I did it, and it didn't work. The purple stuff didn't work.
The purple stuff did not work.
Yeah, so I'm a little sad. So have Grit Blaster will travel. I've got a Grit Blaster out in the garage, and I'll tape off so that just the lettering is covered or is exposed, and one pass should take that lettering off pretty nicely, and then when I go to repaint, it'll cover right up.
So did the Great Northern have a different font or something? That's what you're adding, or?
Yeah, I don't have any decals handy. It's the Empire Builder font that this is what's considered Railroad Roman, kind of a generic term. They had that kind of squared off Empire Builder stuff, and I could dig in my decal stash and find it, but that would be boring.
So the Empire Builder had different fonts than regular Great Northern.
Well, they started out with this Railroad Roman, and later in the mid-50s started changing over to the Empire Builder. font. Just so that they didn't have to have as many, stencils hanging around. Because that's what they used on all their passenger cars, is that later font.
What year is your friend modeling?
1956, September, actually.
Is that hard to match the paint after you blast those letters off and touch it up?
Sure. It takes a little bit of doing, but I have the Scale Coat Empire Builder, or it's essentially a Pullman green.
Mm-hmm.
And so that a little bit of black or a little bit of white or, whatever, just kind of make it fit.
So Tim has a question.
Okay.
What media do you use in the Grit Blaster?
It's what the guys, I have it's a North Coast Engineering grit blasting booth, I think that's it. Anyway, they, or North Coast Models. Anyway, they recommend aluminum oxide, and it's about a 220 grit. Funny story, stay away from glass beads and brass passenger cars, because all those little glass beads, if you use them, are just like ball peen hammers hitting that soft brass, and it bends them.
So you said aluminum oxide?
Yes, so essentially sandpaper. There are guys who use baking soda, and that really, really gives a nice finish as well. I just haven't gotten around to doing that yet.
Where do you get that from?
I got it. There's a place on Pierce Butler route in the Twin Cities here that has the stuff. Pache makes what they call an air eraser, which is essentially the same thing. And they sell a little bottle of the grit. I don't know, $15-20. That sounds high, but I bought a torn bag of 220 aluminum oxide. It listed for $25 15 years ago, and the guy sold it to me for 10 because it was ripped open. Well, it's I'm never going to use 50 pounds of this stuff. So,
I think I've got mine at Harbor Freight.
Yep, same thing.
I know Harbor Freight sells an air eraser, and I think they give a warranty for $2, so you can use it for about 2 years and trade it in on a new one. So
that's not nice.
Well, no, they wear out.
Yeah. The tip wears out. Yep.
Yeah, they wear out, and if they're going to warranty it. But yeah, I've always got the aluminum oxide, and I always spray outside. You got a booth.
Yeah, I can do it in the garage. It still makes a mess because I don't hook it up the right way, but
it's just, that stuff makes a mess.
Yep. But it's really slick, and boy, if you take a brass steam locomotive, for example, and it's got all the lacquer and the bad paint, and you grit blast it, and take your time and make sure you cover everything, gives just a beautiful finish that takes paint really nicely. Makes a clod look like a good painter. Ask me how I know.
Yeah. So Di says baking soda too. I think for a grit blaster you need a bigger intake for baking soda, because any moisture, that stuff really clogs, but it does work.
Yep. It's beautiful. It leaves a really nice finish.
The baking soda gives a better finish.
It's like a finer finish, I guess. I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of it, but I've been perfectly happy with my 220 grit, so I stick with that.
David, you up to anything?
Oh, I finished restaging the railroad for an app session Tuesday night with our local Tuesday night guys. I'm the host the first Tuesday of the month. And I started installing decoders in a couple older Athearn Genesis locomotives, but I haven't finished. I've got to hook up the headlights, and then I decided to give one to my nephew, so I found another locomotive to tear apart and work on. So I'm basically in the middle of 3 decoder installations, but my energy level somewhat diminished and I stalled. So First
they
was,
sound
Oh,
decoders?
yeah, they're actually. I bought one soundtracks decoder for one of them. Then I acquired a second decoder through devious means, which I won't get into right now. And I'll put that in the second Genesis locomotive. And then my nephew had started building an HO, or excuse me, an N scale locomotive, but he joined an HO club. He lives in Clarksville, Tennessee. And he said he'd sure like an HO locomotive. So I guess he figured I would just give him one. So I did. And I said, but I have to, it's a GP30, a older proto locomotive. So I've got to put new gears in it because I know that they're cracked. So it's from that vintage where the gears were all cracking. And I found a sound decoder that I'm not even sure what. I haven't tested it yet, but I know it's an older Soundtracks decoder. And for the life of me, I can't remember what it came out of. So if it works, and I'm assuming it will, I'll end up doing all three of them, kind of finishing them off at the same time. So
What do you use for a speaker?
iPhone speakers,
Just iPhones?
yeah, and I know everybody loves those, was it scale sound systems or something like that, that some guy is making them with the real special baffles and everything that fit inside the cabs or the hoods of the locomotive. And they sound great. I haven't bought any of those, but the last time I bought speakers, I bought about 18 iPhone 4 speakers or 4S, whatever it was. So, I'm sort of using those up and they sound good. So I've been happy using them. I've installed, I bet you I've got at least 6 locomotives on my railroad where I've put the decoders in and I've used iPhone speakers. So, I've got no reason not to use them. But I would like to try one of those other ones. So I don't know.
Yeah, I saw online, I don't know what it was they had. Scale sound systems.
Right. Yeah, that's
when
it.
I was talking to Larry about them, and they seem to have like speakers you can just drop in if you throw
Yep.
a decoder buddy in there. So I mean, I'd like to try some other speakers too. I like my iPhones, but I'm open to trying, as technology advances.
Oh yeah, exactly. And that's what, I bought those speakers, and when I bought them on eBay, I think I paid about $1.50 or $1.85 a piece for them. And, since I was ordering them, I ordered like, I think 18 of them all together. So I'm not going to throw them away. I guess I could double them up, and use them up a little bit quicker. That's always an option. But in the meantime, they work fine. They fit in everything. I've cut them down. I know some guys, it's not that hard to lop off a half an inch from the body and seal it up. And so you can get them into even tighter spaces. So, so they work. I'm happy with them. But at some point, I'm sure I'll try something a little more fancy. So,
Yeah.
future project. But first, I better finish the 3 that I've got started before I, tear another one up and start working on it. So,
Are you putting any current keepers in there? Keep alives?
I've never used one of those things, and I bought some. So I actually have a couple Soundtracks current keepers or keep alives, whatever they are. But, I think because almost every one of my frogs are powered either through frog juicers or through using the contacts like on the blue points or the tortoises. It hasn't really, I haven't gotten hung up on having to have keep alives in them. So, which, matter of fact, I don't think I've ever even operated a locomotive anywhere that has a keep alive circuit in it. So it's something that I haven't felt the need for, even though I bought a couple just in case. But so no, I haven't put any in. So
Okay.
another
So
future.
I have another question for you. If you could dispense some advice.
Sure.
My friend Heath is in chat, and Heath is going to apply for his first NMRA Achievement Program certificate. He's going
Good.
for electrical engineer.
Yep.
And you and I and some others may be judging it because he's having a tough time with his division out there on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any advice for him, or Heath? Do you have any questions for the two of us? Because we've both been through the ringer, and I try and simplify it. We were talking, Dave, about how archaic some of the AP thing is, about overhead wires and this and that. But
Yep. Yeah. The first bit of advice is don't read too much into it, because, you don't have to use a CAD program to make the diagrams, for instance. When I got my AP for electrical, I literally used quarters to make circles, or, I had some old drafting type rulers that, where there were cutouts inside of the plastic ruler, and you could just kind of outline the cutout. And I drew all the diagrams by hand, and it was real straightforward. They want a diagram, for instance, of a decoder in a locomotive. So how hard was that to draw a little slab for a chassis and put a circle here and write decoder inside of it? You don't have to overthink some of those requirements as long as you fill the requirement. And it's the same thing with if you're illustrating how you wired up a switch, a turnout, and how you powered the frog. You can draw that stuff by hand, or even, probably download a template off of, like, for instance, the Fast Track site, and just use that and label it. So it's, I know it's, that's funny. If you're CAD capable and you want to do it that way, then do it that way. But it's not a requirement. I don't think anybody has to go crazy looking for somebody that can make these incredible drawings for them.
No. I think Heath and I were having a discussion about terminology, and being I wouldn't say newer model railroader, but newer to this, we were discussing the term blocks. And that's where I think I told Heath was a block, not just each track. It's just where you have circuit breakers, and I followed your example.
Yep.
And so, yeah, an example of what's required. Maybe we'll talk tomorrow night, Heath, about this, because I think it's just questions. You have everything correct. It's just a matter of understanding what they're looking for. Maybe can you explain a block, David?
I know because I was using DCC on my railroad, it was just a matter of, and I'm just sitting here thinking, I recently, as I was going through piles of stuff under the railroad, I'm pretty sure I found the paperwork that I had turned in for the electrical AP. So I'll go back and look for that stuff. But, I have 4 PSX power shields on the railroad. And at some point, I know I drew something up that just, my railroad's divided into 4 blocks, and I tried to illustrate that on this big master track plan that I have. And I just, chopped it. That's how I did it. And the AP person here in the Twin Cities in the Thousand Lakes region approved it. So I had a big PDF, or, at that time it wasn't a PDF. I just drew it on graph paper. And it was like, here's the first section that's covered by a circuit breaker. And this section's covered by another circuit breaker, and then another circuit breaker, and another circuit breaker. And that works. Again, you don't have to overthink it. They're not asking you to create some old-fashioned rotary switch block and toggle, type of thing.
Do you have a booster, David? I know you do the same thing. I mean,
yep.
I'm doing what you do. As I learned, I have a Digitrax command station, which goes to a railroad amp meter showing how much power is going out, which goes to the quad PSX for each, and then each PSX goes off to each block.
Yep, exactly.
And is that what do you have a booster at all?
Yeah, and the way I did mine, the DCS 100 splits off into 2 of these power shields, and then the DB 150 booster goes into 2 other power shields. So I took one of those quad PSX deals and just wired it so that It was like command station, two power shields, booster, two power shields, and often running to the rest of the railroad. So that's pretty much what I did on mine, and I think that it's funny because I know I could run that whole railroad just on the command station. I don't. It as it turns out, because I did have, I ordered those ramp meters like you did. Um, During any given operating session, the whole railroad only draws about exactly 2.5 or 3 amps. And that's what's usually 6 to 8 operators and 12 to 16 locomotives running. So, um, unfortunately, I'm upstairs now, and the railroad is downstairs, so I can't exactly hold the camera in front of it. Otherwise
That's
I would.
for a future show. We'll do that on a future show.
Yeah, but I could send. I know Heath's email address, and I could, send you some pictures and stuff. And like I said, as long as you're not going to get this thing evaluated tomorrow by noontime, I'll take a look downstairs and see if I can't find some of the paperwork for the electrical AP. But again, it's like I didn't overthink it. It's so much of you have a throttle network, and you have track buses, and make some real basic, easy to read diagrams, and in your case, use the CAD stuff, but you don't have to. Um, yeah, and I'm just reading what it says up there now. So
Yeah, I
don't
think
overthink it.
Heath has so many detailed things that
Yep.
the NMRA really just wants a dumbed down version of that.
Yeah.
Is this section of track isolated from this one? So if you derail over here, nothing happens over here. That's the test.
And this is up to the guys that are doing the AP evaluation, because they fill out paperwork. They don't, all these diagrams and things aren't necessarily sent back to some master, secretive person in Tennessee that hoards them inside of a file cabinet. It's the evaluators look at it, they make sure the diagrams agree with what you've done, and then they fill out their paperwork. And as long as you're fulfilling the requirements and making some attempt at illustrating it and explaining it, and again, you can just write a couple sentences. This isn't a doctorate or a dissertation. So okay, so yeah, so there you go. And I'm not looking at the requirements, but I know it says something like that you have to have a throttle network or a throttle bus and a power bus. And I spell that with one S too, by the way. So I wouldn't, don't spell it BUSS. It kind of drives me crazy, but that's a whole nother, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I know you said you got 3 throttle networks. I don't think they care about that. I don't.
I think one of the requirements is that you have to, you have a throttle network. So,
yeah.
And in my case, again, I probably drew 2 UP5s and a line between them that said this is a flat 6-wire telephone, whatever they call that, telco cable or flat cable or whatever it is. So, and Dan just popped up a question that says Dan's Model Railroad Journal, or Journey rather. I already told somebody that for some January thing we're doing, the last AP certificate I received before I got the MMR was for building the freight cars. And I believe that's Dan, that's local. And so I told somebody that sure, I could do a clinic on that particular AP. And I actually kept all that paperwork in a notebook, with the 4 merit judging sheets and the 4 freight cars that I built, with Tom's guidance, I might add, are all displayed proudly on a roll top desk in the downstairs in the railroad room. Yep, there you go. And so this will be one time where I could do a clinic where everything is actually right where I can find it, And so I've got all the paperwork. I've got the PDFs that I followed when I was building it. And I have all 8 cars that I used for that AP certificate are, they're right there. If you could see through the floor, you'd see them right now. And I'll tell Dan that, because I believe that's Dan that lives in Chanhassen or Chaska. Come on over sometime and I'll show it to you. But we'll do a clinic on it. So, that's for January 12th, I think. So yeah, so that's the program. And there you go. How to fill out the paperwork.
Yeah. And that's a great topic for one of these future live streams is pick an AP, even Golden Spike, and go, here's the paperwork.
Yep.
Here's what you need. And showing a layout, show Joe's or yours or mine and go, this is how we met these requirements.
Yep. And I could do that for scenery, and I could do it for the cars, and you could do the same thing, Tom. I mean, it would be easy enough to do a little walking thing. So, and yeah, that's the whole point. You want to share that information with everybody. I'm lucky that my wife is much more articulate than I am. So whenever I fill out paperwork, I give it to her to read, and after she redlines half of it and rearranges 68% of the rest of it, I retype it and then I can turn it in. So that probably isn't a bad idea to have somebody that can look over the paperwork for you, just to make sure that it reads well and you've spelled most of the words correctly. So,
So Heath also mentioned he doesn't want to be an MMR because he doesn't want to scratch build cars. And that was you, David.
Yep.
Any words of encouragement for that to say, hey,
nothing to
you can do it.
It's funny because I did the cars, and that was my first attempt at 100% scratch building something. So then I decided to build this lacrosse Burlington depot, which I 100% scratch built. And that came out pretty good. And now I've had these pictures of the Burlington had some weed sprayer cars. It looked kind of like a box car on a flat car chassis, with windows in the front and all these little spray arms that come out. And I'm determined that's going to be my next 100% scratch building project. So, it was one of these deals where once I got past those first two scratch built freight cars, I realized that, scratch building sounds horrendous, but if you've got the right instructions to follow, it kind of takes on a mind of its own, and it wasn't as hard as I had anticipated, because I saved that one for last, and it was actually a lot of fun doing it. So, and I didn't.
Yeah, I know you said that when
Yep.
It's one of those things where you start and you didn't want to, you think this is going to be difficult, but once you're in there, it is fun. I thought it was one of the fun, much more fun than electrical,
Yep.
a lot more fun than civil, and
and
probably quicker than author.
Well, that's an interesting thing about the AP program, not to twist this off into some strange, route here, but some of those AP certificates are time related. You can't be a division, you can't be an official or a volunteer in 2 weeks. It takes a certain amount of time to get that done, because you're accumulating points with events, and you just can't do those quickly. But even author, I mean, unless you're a writer or original or ready, but the other ones like structures, cars, scenery, you can knock those out pretty, I'd say, faster than you can volunteer or official or author or even dispatcher, because of it's easy for us in an area like this in the Twin Cities to accumulate 50 hours operating on other railroads. But let's say you're not here in the Twin Cities or in Kansas City or in Chicago or whatever, and you might not have any places to operate. And how are you going to accumulate the 50 hours that you need to be a dispatcher? So, I guess we're lucky, and it just depends. So, And the bit with the paperwork, don't overthink it. You know, that I think that's some strange, who knows where it comes from, where people decide they have to write these dissertations on everything they did. The evaluators are looking for certain information, and that's what they want. You don't have to write 35 paragraphs on how you mix the color of paint. Just
No.
tell it, just do it. So anyway.
Yeah. So I saw Heath post something. I don't know. Are you compiling a website for that, Heath? That's going to be a great advantage of your journey, passing that on. You know. Yeah, Clark reviewer first scratch build didn't go. Dan, I had, and David could probably, our Thousand Lakes region AP person is John Hotvet, probably one of the best modelers I've ever met. And I brought him my first scratch building things, depots. It didn't go well, but he's not mean. He just corrected me and said, do this, 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 and this.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay. And if you don't take it as an insult, like you said, and you take it as a lesson, and you take it as advice, it's like, because they're looking at craftsmanship, not craftiness.
Yeah.
So,
And we're lucky. He's got an excellent eye. He would, I think, on one of the fourth car that I turned in, or maybe it was the third car, he literally walked downstairs because he came here to do the last two, and something had possessed me to position the decals on the end of the car the way I wanted to put them, not the way he wanted to see them. In other words, just like the reporting marks are above the number, right? And so I put them on either side of the end piece of the gun, and he literally walked down the stairs. I handed him the car, and within a millisecond, he says, "Why'd you put the decals on like that?" It's like, you haven't even looked at it yet. How can you tell that I didn't do it right? So it's like he's just so adept at doing that sort of thing, and he did take a point off, because of the way I did that. And I have since fixed it, but that's another story. But these guys are a good evaluator like that. He really knows what he's doing, and he really is looking for certain things, and he's looking for them, and he sees them, period. So you can't pull anything. You can't pull the wool over his eyes. That's for sure.
And he's not trying to disqualify anyone. That's the whole thing. You think we're trying to keep people out. No, we're trying to get more people in the program. And the more praise you get and the more, information you get, the more you're going to like it. The more you like building, the more you like the NMRA, the more you like everything. But,
Okay, so now this thing that is up there about the link to the paperwork, is that, and I haven't used this live stream before, so how do we find that humancity.org/NMRA-.
So if you open up another tab,
yeah,
and copy and paste that or put it up there, it'll go to that site.
Good enough. We can do that.
So does it need to be prototypical? No-ish. So
there you go.
So split rock mining, is not a prototype. But I had plans for a gondola, and I made it a split rock mining car. And I don't know if this car even exists. You can kind of see Dave and I did all the underbody and stuff.
Yep.
So if you follow prototype plans, you get more points.
Mm-hmm.
I think, David, is that kind of it? Or
yeah, if you look at the judging matrix, you'll see that there's X amount of points for prototype, finish. I can't remember. There's like 5 categories. So, like if it was 100% perfect prototype car, it might be 20 points you could get. So if you follow prototype practices, and it's for a car for the made up railroad, maybe you'd only get 15 points instead of 20 points. But that's okay because, you know, you're as long as you end up with 87.5 points out of the 125, you know, that's all that matters. So yeah, if you make it 100% perfect, including the way the car would smell in real life, then yeah, maybe you'd get all the points. But if you don't, you don't. You know, as long as the prototype practices. So, you know, that's the main thing. And again, don't overthink it. If you look at those matrices, and and believe me, I'm not trying to downplay anything here, but if you look at the matrix and read what it says, and then look at what you did, and try to be somewhat, you know, subjective about the whole thing, you know, if you can't make a good corner, or if you painted it with a broom, and if you look at how many points you can get, you're gonna tell yourself that, no, I think I could have done a better job on this, you know. So you don't want to beat yourself up, but you want to look at what each one of those categories is worth, and then just try to do the best you can in that category. And maybe it's not so bad if you turn something in, and if you don't get it all, you know, you go back and fix it, or you try a little harder on the next attempt. There you go. So
Overthinking. Yeah, I think that's a common thing in the AP program. Is a lot of people think when they get to the model building, they have to win best in show.
no,
And you need 87.5 points. All the other ones, there's only 3 that get judged. All the other ones are pass fail,
yeah,
right? No one's going to judge your electronics, not going to judge your soldering. They just want to see, did you do these 6 items?
right,
And bang, 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 done. Okay, did you do these 4? Bang, here's your certificate.
yeah. And just like if you go for dispatcher, you know, you could go someplace and operate and wreck half the equipment there, but you were there for 3 hours and logged it as. No, I don't want you to go there and wreck half the equipment, but you know, you could go there and as long as you fill the requirements, you know, you're not getting the merit award for operating, assuming you wanted to get dispatcher, you know, just as an example. You just fill in the requirements. So but it's time. It takes time. You know, I know a couple guys that have, you know, like Tom, it only took you 3 years, 3 years for you to do it?
Well, if you don't count the first one, which I did, you know, back in the Stone Age before I moved to the city. So,
Yeah.
but, you know, new job, new wife, all kinds of things happened. But yeah, I did mine within 3 years.
Yeah. And
You inspired me because I met you and you said, well, I got 5. I'm like, well, I got to get 5 too. So,
yeah, and I got
but
my.
I did it organically
Mhm.
as I built my layout, and that's what he's doing.
Yep.
And I think as you build your layout, well, I got to wire it up. Why not show how I wired it?
Yeah.
I got
Exactly.
to draw it out, show how I draw. You know.
Yep. And I got the first one, and it took me 25 years, I think, to get it. You know, just because that's maybe how I've approached a lot of things. So that's neither here that's neither here nor there. So.
Yeah, and I think that's, like you said, it's just as you build your layout, you know, take pictures and submit articles.
Yeah.
Or like Heath does, make a video or do a clinic, and as you build your layout, you'll have author done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody thinks they have to be in a national magazine, and I'm like, your division, region, and even the NMRA magazine are all starved for articles, for good photographs.
Yep. Exactly.
And good articles. If you want to know how to write an article, Cynthia Priest did a wonderful video called "While You're at It," and goes through all the do's and don'ts of photographing your models and writing.
Mm-hmm.
And she also tells you to put your faith in people who edit these things.
Right.
So as long as you get the gist in there, people like Cynthia and our TLR newsletter, they can make you sound a lot better than what I sound by. So
Mhm.
and here's Randy couldn't dispatch. Randy, to be a dispatcher, all you got to be is a poor guesser who knows how to delay trains. Okay. So,
Well, and see, it's nice because you have 7 certificates that you have to get out of 11.
yeah.
So you could be an MMR without getting the dispatcher certificate, but
Yeah,
for
that's
those of us that operate too much, why not have the dispatcher certificate? Like that guy that's fiddling around with those locomotives there in the bottom of my screen.
Yeah.
He could turn in the paperwork for dispatcher tomorrow at noon if he'd fill
Yeah.
it all out, because I know he's got enough time to, to get that, but no, he hasn't done it yet. So
I don't know if I've been to a layout where Joe's the dispatcher. Is that allowed?
yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen him do John O'Brien's, and I know he's been an operator over there. And you've dispatched on Mr. Rich's railroad, if I'm not mistaken. So I think he could handle that one.
He could probably dispatch my grandson's Inglenook. That would be good. That would be.
Oh yeah.
Keith, you could dispatch your time saver. So Keith wants to know if you're scratch building Great Northern engines.
I
Did we
think
lose Joe?
Joe's must not have his audio on.
He's in his own little world.
Sorry.
Oh,
Wait,
there you are.
I'm back.
Are
Yeah,
you scratch building those?
no. These are they're Stewart models that I'm detailing. I've only killed about 10 crews over time. One time I put the officer special on a siding and then ran a freight train into it, so everybody got promoted that day. But that was Santa Fe, so
Well, there you go. See,
No,
now,
the reason,
Not the
the
Great
reason it's
Northern?
not done. The reason it's not done is because I hate paperwork.
yeah, but that's another thing. Once you've filled out some of it for one of those certificates, even the paperwork gets easier to do, And dispatcher. So you have to have 50 hours, 10 hours as a dispatcher, 10 hours running a passenger locomotive, and 10 hours running a freight locomotive. You'd have to get some initials or signatures because you have
I've
to
got
document
all
it.
that part done. It's the other part that I haven't gotten done yet.
Well, then you and I could sit down and do it. I mean, it isn't that hard, because at least if we can get you one, that'll be like a hook, and once the hook is set, then Tom will tug on it a little bit, and I'll tug on it a little bit more, and before you know it, you'll get a second one.
So you're telling me I'm a bass?
I'm telling you that you better do something, or we're going to quit talking to you.
No.
Well, no, we won't do that.
Oh,
Heath is going to be an MMR before you, Joe. So.
ouch, that hurts. All right, Heath, you're on, buddy.
Yeah, and why can't Heath move up here? What's the big
Yes,
deal?
yeah. Why does he have to be in New York? He should move here.
Because New York never sleeps, and we live
Oh.
in Cowtown out here.
Move. Nobody
Yeah.
says you have to sleep in Cowtown.
It's down to 20 degrees outside now. We're down about 15 degrees from this afternoon.
Yeah, I got to be outside all day tomorrow.
Too bad.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, as our Facebook user said, North Metro Flea Market and open house. I don't know if the Facebook user can tell us what the admission charge is, but it's at the Coon Rapids VFW, so you can have some Ensign Morgan, and then
Yes.
go buy all the GG1s you can find.
They have a sale on gruesome casket tomorrow.
The gruesome
Yes.
caskets. You can come play flea market bingo with us, and $5 is yeah.
I think the Just Plug display will be in the southwest corner of the room too.
Yeah, just plug.
Yeah.
Dave's going to be over there practicing saying it.
Saying just plug.
Yeah.
And
I'm not
building a waterfall.
I'm not sure if I'm going to go tomorrow or not. So I might not have the ambition to get out of the house. So
Give me a call. I'm going to go up there with Dan.
mhm.
We're going to have some bagels and then go up there and look for GG1s for Heath and
And
have some
scale
Ensign Morgan.
GG1s. Yeah, isn't part of the MMR is that he's got to build some catenary?
I think that's what it is. He has to have catenary and a GG1
Exactly.
in the proper maroon and 5, pinstripe scheme.
Yeah, he's got to do that by hand.
Actually, I'm saving my money for the Woodbury show because that's on my birthday. So I figure that's justification for,
Oh,
going up there in January and just blowing the whole thing.
you'll probably
Cool.
get a kiss from the girl who lets people in.
Yeah.
Well,
That's Ed Petrie. So
Yeah, right.
well, I'm gonna wear my birthday suit. So why not?
I'm gonna buy you a gift. I'm gonna buy you one of those Soydam kits that's a box of wood from 1969.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And say, here you go.
Assemble and paint, right? That's how the instructions are.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Heath, that's what everyone's doing tomorrow. Yeah, we're talking about that flea market. And Randy's doing rivets.
Yes, he
Gotta
is.
get Randy, you're coming on next week and showing us your bridge. Isn't that right?
And scale rivets, Tom.
Scale rivet. Now, do we count them?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it?
Yes.
I think we have to weigh them first and then count them.
And Tim is right. Heath, you need a big sky blue boxcar.
Big sky blue GG1.
Yeah, that would be cool. A big goat on there.
Yeah.
Okay, so Heath, you want N scales? We want like the Cato ones or the BLMI? What are the N scale switchers? SW12s?
Could be.
I don't know much about
In
N
scale. It's smaller.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, no, it is.
See, Heath would come over if he saw Ken Borowski's layout.
Yeah,
for sure.
see? Or even Matt Clare's. Matt Clare's is a good layout. That's fun to switch on. He's got to get some scenery going.
Scenery.
Yeah, exactly. Ruins model railroads, right?
Oh, and Dan has to work on paperwork, he says.
Paperwork. What is paperwork? For your AP, I hope. Okay.
It's a
Atlas
journey.
switcher with the sound already installed. Okay.
You can buy those, right? I mean, you can buy N-scale locomotives with pretty decent sound in them. It seems I've seen a few of those. Well, Mike Fox has a number of sound locomotives. Something I will never attempt to do is work on something like that. That is not going to ever happen.
Ken Borowski's has all sound.
Does he?
Yeah.
Is he doing it himself or is he
I
buying
think
it?
so.
I think he does do them himself.
Nothing like a 6'6" guy with bare paws putting sound in an N scale engine. The guy,
That's just what I was going to say.
he's quite talented. If he ever watches this, you're awesome, Ken.
That's such a good layout.
Heath, we need to have you on sometime and have a GG1 clinic. A preview of the, do you want me to, I can send you the code. I'll post the code if you want to come on.
Well, the first GG1 was all riveted, not welded, so that would be one to build.
We were in Pennsylvania. We were at some museum that had a GG1 on display in 1987, and I remember you could go inside of the thing. And was that in Strasbourg, wherever it was? And those things are not very comfortable to move around in. You know, there's so much equipment inside of there, and and the one that they had on display wasn't exactly pristine on the inside. So, you could have used like a Tyvek suit as you walked in the door and then got up to the cab part of it. So Dan wants to build an engine, the correct engine chassis. Well, start at the bottom and work your way up. That's how
I
they
think
do that.
Joe was just doing that. He had a chassis out there. So Rivets is at Strasbourg.
Yeah,
I did
that's
not know
a right.
Here's another project I'm working on. It's an NW3 drive that I'm modifying for Atlas trucks. So I'm not very far along on it. I've cut a lot of holes and soldered some stuff into it, but
And some of those holes are for the speaker, I know. So
yeah, that's right. All of the holes will let the sound out.
Randy's looking at localized sound of multiple speakers. That sounds like the old PFM system.
Mm-hmm.
I think Heath might know if JMRI supports that or not.
there was a guy years ago. There was a guy, Lynn McCall, and he had a railroad. He lived up in Brooklyn Park or someplace. I wonder if Joe ever operated there. It was an N-scale railroad, and he had one speaker under the railroad, and he had it was one decoder was running the one speaker, so it wasn't in the locomotive. But were you ever there, Joe?
I never got to see his layout. No,
Because it was,
I think he was in Crystal. He lived right off of Louisiana.
or wherever. Yeah, maybe it was
Yeah.
Crystal. But so he had the one speaker, and so the one decoder was programmed to one of his engine numbers, and it was quite impressive to hear that, to hear one of those things playing back through it like a stereo speaker.
Before DCC came out, a company called Roanoke Electronics brought out some sound cards that you could attach into a locomotive, and it would go around with the locomotive, or you could hook it to a stereo speaker. So I have the Alco one because I was going to put it in a PA1. But if I hook it up to I have a old stereo speaker, and it makes a heck of a bass response with that thing. It's really impressive.
Yeah, which is pretty funny because don't we tell everybody to turn down the sound system so that you can only hear it if you're within about a foot of it or 2 feet of it?
Yep. This one you can feel in your chest when it runs.
Yeah, just like a car stereo where you can blow the windows out, right?
Exactly.
That's what you want to ultimately do. I think you could use a bigger snips on that than what you're using.
Well, my little scissors got so dull from doing this that they weren't working, and this actually cuts the stainless steel pretty nicely.
Now you can see it flying off of there. That's pretty impressive. And that's a regular sheet metal shear.
Yeah, it's a 10 steps. Yep. Go big or go home. That's what I say.
Well, yeah. When you're done with that, you can work on my gutters.
Yeah, there you go. I have the red ones too, so I can make right turns. I can't make left turns. Or maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. But so far,
must be left turns because you never do anything right. So
that's true. Not the first time.
Guys are brutal.
Hey, I wouldn't expect any less from Tom.
I know. Yeah, we got to do that hostage exchange too, Joe.
Yeah. I'm actually going down to Edina tomorrow. Maybe I'll give you a shout. What did I have of yours? Oh, I've got the tunnel liners. Yeah.
The tunnel liners I don't need. And I have your wooden ties that you don't need. So.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't have a tunnel on my railroad, so although I didn't used to have a turntable either.
So what's the plyo bond for?
That's what I'm gluing it on. The white glue wasn't working, so I'm putting the plyo bond into the little palette here, and then I'm dabbing just a little bit on, and then sticking these guys onto there. These are the framing sections that go underneath the grills. Unfortunately, I end up getting strings all over, but they come off.
Yep. Well, we'll just have a moment of silence and watch Joe put these the grilled pieces on there.
I'll have to borrow you some of this. That VMS, that company I just brag on. I have a Flexi 5CA glue,
Oh, nice.
especially for photo etched parts.
Oh, sure. You tell
And
me
then
this
they have
now
a
after
photo
I'm done.
etch cleaner. So he says Soundtracks is a sound system that follows trains around the layouts.
Yeah, wasn't it? It had some other NAMI name to it, I think, didn't it? Like I don't know if it ever went over very hard. Wasn't as popular as everything else that they do. And wasn't the BLI system? Isn't that Rolling Thunder? Isn't that what that's called? Something like that.
Might be. Wear gloves. I wear gloves when I'm painting and things like that because I don't want to get fingerprints before I paint them.
Sure.
And I also wear gloves. I've got a clinic I was going to show tonight too of when I do spray glues. When I make those trees, and I use the air spray that goes all over. So I try to.
I have a box of those. What is it? Nitrile? Is that what those things are made out of, or something like that?
Yeah, nitrile ones. You can get them from the order place or any.
But do your fingers start to sweat when you're wearing those things? I mean, I've noticed that. Yeah, so that's and sometimes like if I'm doing surgery, I'll put the gloves on, just to keep things sanitary. And
it's all plastic surgery, right?
Pretty much plastic surgery, exactly. Yeah, Rolling Thunder and surround sound. So
I've heard of Rolling Thunder, but I haven't heard of surround sound. We got a couple people trying to join the stream here. We'll see if they have any luck. The North Metro Club was going to give us a little tour here, but there's Todd. You guys want to see a huge layout?
Sure.
That was exciting.
That was exciting. There we go. This is Todd, everyone.
Hello, Todd.
Hopefully the Wi-Fi holds up for him. The North Metro Club.
But the exciting new part we just added this year, it took us a while to get it built, but here's our Milwaukee Road Depot HO scale.
Cool.
Laser wood kit.
That's a HLM or HLR or something.
Yep, HRM from Wisconsin. Yep, did an amazing job. Each wall is 4 layers thick.
That's pretty sharp.
So what's the size of the layout?
It is 5,000 4x50. This part we just got about a week.
Is that on the right side as you're walking down into the space along that long right side wall?
Yep. So as you walk in the door to the right, this is the depot right along the 2nd Street side.
Mm-hmm.
And we just added a commissary building down here. And then down here, Art Hill built us a freight house, Milwaukee Road, which is lighted, has people inside of it.
Wow, cool.
Where's the heating plant with the big chimney on it?
So on the depot.
There you go.
Nice.
Yep, heating. Sorry. So the heating plant's right there.
Excellent.
Yep, the original depot we had built was out of plaster and it was like S gauge. So, and then the roof does come off. The skylights, it will be lighted. It will be decorated inside.
Just plug.
So inside the main lobby, this is the ceiling.
Oh, brother.
That is all laser cut wood. There's like 3 layers to the ceiling here. There will be chandeliers. So when you look on his website, you'll see it hanging up. So when you look at it, you'll see the skylights through the roof and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to have trolley tracks on the Washington Avenue side with catenary. And we'll have stoplights and everything here. So, and it'll be fully lit. Even the clock will be backlit.
Will it be the correct time?
And the correct time right now is 1:20.
Every 12 hours.
Sorry,
right?
3:05.
Yeah.
3:05.
Every 12 hours, it'll be right.
Yep. Oh, let's see what else is new. Up here on the second level, above 2nd Street, is Mintac and Kelly Lake sub. So Mintac will be the mine up here for the taconite.
That's where they make blue tape.
Blue, blue tape and pink foam. And this will go all the way along the 2nd Street on the second level up here, all the way down that way.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Kelly Lake Yard, which is about 8 tracks wide.
I see some brown dirt,
You see a lot of brown
a
dirt,
lot of red dirt.
a lot of red dirt, Mr. Tom. A lot of Mistabi up here.
If you can, Todd, can you walk slower because it can't keep up with your Wi-Fi? So,
Oh, sorry.
oh no, not your problem. It's just it's tough in that building. I know.
And then eventually we'll have backdrops out over here and stuff. So
Hey, those cars look familiar with the big numbers.
yeah, I think I got those from you probably like a few years ago, and we finished them. So
Hopefully, you got them cheap.
Hey,
Sorry.
Tom is. What do you mean cheap? He armed a leg for that stuff.
Yeah. It's famous.
Yeah, he's famous, all right. This is the gas plant we're going to have up here. Natural gas or propane, whatever. The old 169 overpass. So we use, this is all pink foam that's painted. And then the road bed is Homosote spline. 3 pieces wide on its edge, screwed together, and then we sand the top of it so it's fairly smooth. We use liquid nails to glue our track down. It takes about 30 minutes for the hold, and once we pull up the tacks, it's good to go. And eventually we're going to have signals up here.
Why do you use the liquid nails as opposed to one of the DAP products?
Liquid nails, we found out over the last 8 years, our track has not moved up anything. The only thing that moves on the track right now are the rails. The ties do not budge. So if it does expand, we just make a cut on the rail and we're good to go again. So
Is it hard to get the track off of that liquid nails, or can you even? You can't do that without tearing it up, I
I
bet.
think you can. We haven't really had to do that lately. So I think the worst we've had like 2 winters ago before we had heat down here. We had 60 rail buckles. And it took AJ and another couple guys to work on. It took about a week to fix all the buckled rail. And of course they buckled at the switches, so that was exciting.
Oh, sure.
So here's one river crossing, St. Louis. So this is our only passing sighting up here on the second deck above 2nd Street. And of course, up here we'll put trees and foam and scenery and stuff to represent the North Woods.
It's amazing what you can do in 5,000 square feet.
And this here will be a bridge. We do have the bridge. It's not in place right now. I'll show you that bridge in a second. But this is the main St. Louis River crossing. It was a kit that one of our members bought. So this bridge will sit in that opening to the right back there. So this bridge is going to sit down there. Looks like he's already got to fix a part of it already. But this took him roughly... He's got a few pieces he's got to fix on here. What the heck? All right. Well. That comes along. Across our bridge. Right now we have access back here to our sprinkler systems behind here, so we kind of have to have this portable 2 bridges that come out. So and then now we're in Cloquet. Well, you got USG.
So that's a good question that popped up. You still use the Fast Tracks jigs to make turnouts, don't you? Or do you kind of just...
We did it at the beginning, but now we have switched to Pecos, I believe. Code 83. Much more reliable. They can take more abuse than Fast Tracks.
Really?
Yep. And you know for sure they're thrown because you hear the snap.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Diana's on. Hello.
So eventually these buildings will get made either kit bashed or scratch built. And then next door, we have Sappy Paper Company.
Yeah, if you can hold the camera still.
Geez, should I just have your wife come down and do that for me?
Yeah.
How many members are there in the club now?
We have close to 70. The youngest is 17. The oldest is 87. So that's our upper level. And then everything up here. So we have lights or signals. All the signals work. So to go down to Helix, you have to get permission to go through the signals. So this Helix takes you from Kelly Lake and Humboldt. And you go across bridges to get to the main line.
Was all this in the original plan
Sort of
like
bridges.
when you first started building it?
Did you hear that, Todd? Was this an original plan or added?
Yes. It was the original plan. Kelly Lake.
Did we lose him? We lost him. All right, say hi, Di.
Hi, Di.
There you go.
All right, he had asked, this is, I believe they pay rent.
Yeah.
There's Todd's back. And I think there's a couple forms of dues, level of dues you can pay to, if you want a key to the building or not.
And then they get a certain amount of revenue out of the flea markets, you know, when they have flea markets.
Yeah, they do flea markets. I would say internet, Dwight, because they're down in that basement. I know I've tried to use my phone down there, and it's tough in that big building.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Dan. Yeah, we hope to do this every Friday, and we hope to vary it up. Different clinics, shows, we'll bring people on. I want to thank Todd for coming on and showing us the wonderful layout. So that'll be going tomorrow. And
That's kind of what you're going to build in your basement, right, Tom?
yes.
Sure, there's
All
lots of
red
room.
dirt. Just all red dirt. Helixes.
Oh, helices, I believe, sir. Helices.
And my ore trains are going to be pulled by GG1s. So.
N-scale GG1s.
N-scale GG1s. And we're going to have the ore mine on one side and gruesome casket on the other.
Yes. And the forest for gruesome casket.
So Heath is from the East Coast. He doesn't understand our term flea market. Dave or Joe, want to explain that?
So one of the clubs will rent a big hall for the morning on a Saturday usually, and they will sell tables to people who want to sell stuff, and it's a way of either buying for the estate sale or for getting rid of your junk so someone else can have more junk. It's how we keep the blue tubs full. So you go in and you pay a flat rate fee to get in, and then people have stuff for sale, and it's all marked, and hobby shops or vendors come in, or individuals buy a table and sell stuff. And it's a great way to replenish your rolling stock, or to find that old kit or the old magazine or a t-shirt, or watch other people's trains go around in circles.
Can you buy pins for your vest there, Joe?
Absolutely, Tom.
And the whole flea thing is kind of a personal hygiene issue.
Yes.
So
And some people play flea market bingo and try and find, guys who haven't taken a bath in 6 weeks, or, have last week's dinner
That's
on
the center square. That's free.
Exactly.
yeah, that was a past topic, I think, about the
Personal hygiene
issue.
is encouraged but not required.
Right.
I think one of the ones is a guy selling 3 different scales on his tables.
Right. That's the hard one. If you get that one, that's a bingo.
Also, if you see a guy selling something that you've sold before.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, for less or for more, does it matter?
Yeah, not the same price though.
Yeah,
Best part
swap meets me totally something different up here. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Is that you put your keys in a glass or something?
No,
No.
that's insane. Do not cross the streams, you guys.
Yeah, the local. I think that was a sponsor, wasn't it, Di? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. There's been so many.
Yeah.
So I said our 50th episode is just going to be all the sponsors. I'm just going to have all
So when you talk about railroad swap meets, it's not actually rolling stock, Tom?
well,
Terrible.
We have to be careful here. Although it is getting close to 8:30, so anything can happen.
Oh, anything goes after 8:30. Break out the Ensign Morgan.
That's what Tom's been drinking all night.
Yeah. It started at 6, right?
Somebody knows. And Randy, yeah, they show So I think the club runs St. Paul to Staples, St. Paul to Duluth, and then the Great Northern up to Kelly Lake. So yeah, you're right. They have some of the lake sub and some of the Mesabi sub.
I wonder how long till they get to Seattle.
That's the third level.
Oh, Heath. No, Heath.
North Dakota's not going to be very interesting.
Well, they don't have to scenic it.
Yeah, that's right.
Think of the money they'll save on trees.
Mm-hmm.
So is Ensign Morgan a real alcohol?
I think it depends on how many you've had.
Yeah. Sure feels real the next morning.
We'll have to make our own.
Yeah, there you go. We'll start distilling.
Yes, we will.
Ensign Morgan is the cheap stuff that when we can't afford Captain Morgan.
We've only seen that at Mike Jordan's layout when we go to operate.
Yeah, right.
You've got to have your vest full of pins.
That's right.
There you go. A word from a sponsor.
Yes. I love this layout because we took our grandkids there and they loved it.
It is. It's overwhelming. It's so big.
Yes, it is.
I've
been there many times.
I was in there one time when they were first starting out, and what vision to be able to see what they were getting to. And they're so fast about building.
Did you ever see the time lapse YouTube video that they did?
That's fascinating.
Oh.
Not at all like how I built my layout.
As long as they took that picture of me off the one building, I'll be happy. But I don't know if Todd can hear it. I'd like to, if you can show the clouds with the lightning storm.
I think Diana paid extra to have that sign put up.
Yeah, Randy, mule kick.
Yeah, I've been to that flea market. It was quite interesting.
Is that what we're calling it?
I think that was the first one where I actually sat and watched people go by.
Oh, when we were selling. But that's a whole different bingo card.
Yes.
I was selling the I think I was selling the Pokeball hats and the Minion hats that I had crocheted.
And Dan mentioned those open-sided buildings. There's quite a few on that railroad all along the, like when you first enter the railroad, there's a really impressive open-sided building. And I bet you there's a dozen of them on there, or 5 or 6 maybe, if not a dozen. But
A lot of nice work. Work.
Oh yeah, there's, a lot of really talented people working there. And they
Joe,
do have.
you've done that on your layout, haven't you?
I've got a couple spots, yeah. I have plans for more, but that may not ever happen. But yeah, I've got one building that is open. It's a storage building, a warehouse building. So it has the people in there working in boxes and crates and that kind of stuff. It's kind of cool. What's wildly entertaining about it is it's right next to the edge of the layout, obviously, and when people hook it and drop it off, they feel really bad. But I've designed it so that it doesn't get damaged.
Don't you have it spring loaded so it just flies right off if you get too close to it?
Exactly. It's got an Arduino on it, so.
Yeah. They have a working hump yard on this railroad too. I'm surprised that
I was hoping Todd could show us that too.
You guys should have warned him you wanted him to run all around.
He's getting his steps in.
Yeah.
True.
Well, I can take some video tomorrow for Heath if he wants to see it.
Yes. Yes, you should.
I keep on telling Heath he needs to come up here and see us.
Yes.
Bring Larry too.
He can come in May.
There you go.
Yep, there you go.
No, we didn't make it. Arduino.
Yeah. Joe ruined it.
Sorry. I didn't know.
Get me to say humanity without saying human city.
Oh, the humanity. Oh, the huge manatee.
Okay, see now you can tell it's after 8:30 now.
Yeah.
There you go.
You want me to say that, don't you?
So
Yeah.
so now it's the Twin Cities Division After Dark show.
That's not going to be good.
There we go. After dark. That's a good way to do
I'm
that.
so glad the boss Ken Zeska's not here because this will be our only Friday show.
Yeah, shh, don't tell him. Won't tell him. No, we won't tell him.
So Randy wants to know about your hump yard comment, Ty. So
I didn't say anything about the hump yard.
No, I did that.
That was Dave.
I brought it up. Yep. I actually worked it there wait, that didn't sound right at all. I was there one night operating with those guys before Minrail, and I worked the classification yard, which just happens to have all the accessories like a real hump yard would have. And it
Did
was
you lose
kind
a
of
bet
fun.
or what?
Pardon me?
Did you lose a bet?
No, they wanted somebody to try it, and I was crazy enough to do it.
There you go. And it
And
worked.
It's a lot of fun. It's a little unnerving when the cars are going down the hump, and if they have some kind of retarders, and I don't know if they're air powered or if they're just like little bristles on a brush or what they are, or maybe I'm thinking of Ross Hammond's railroad. But when the cars are slamming into each other, you get a little, it works, but it can be terrifying watching them, come off the high side there. But it works. It's really fun doing it. So
Cars slamming into each other. Isn't that what happens where you work, Tom?
pretty much.
and they don't have a hump yard, so
Yeah.
No, didn't they take it out?
I think after the contract vote yesterday, they're really going to slam it.
Don't
Well-
ship anything by rail. It's going to come
No,
in
I
pieces.
And did you ever see the Santa Fe training video where they do that, where they're slamming cars and taking out broken up TV sets and bent refrigerators and whatnot?
We're going to get Heath to come here. Doesn't matter what month. We're going to get him to come and visit us.
Well, the sad part of it is I fell apart on my part of the bargain because last modelers meet, I was going to set up the computer so we could run as time saver from the modelers meet.
Oh, cool.
So maybe we'll try that again. And we can be in Minnesota and running a layout in a New York City apartment. I think that's kind of cool.
That would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. I don't have a banner for the modelers retreat. I should make that one.
You can work on that, tomorrow night or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You
all
don't
my
have anything
spare
to do.
time. All my spare time.
Work smarter, not harder, Tom.
Smarter and Tom don't go together. So.
Oh, dang.
I don't need to see him all the time.
Yeah. It's overrated.
It's just like, another day.
Yeah. It's like my wife working full time and then going to her dance studio at night.
I scare him at night. I reach over to see if he's in bed or not.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, what did you do that for?" And I said, "Just making sure you're there." Didn't know if somebody snuck in.
I'm getting a lot of material here, so I'm trying to be really quiet. I'm not
I'm
saying
looking at this yard. I'm like, that must be Duluth or something.
Yeah, that looks real familiar, and I'd say it is Duluth.
I have to go back. I haven't seen some of this.
Tunnels connecting the buildings. We call them skyways, not tunnels.
Yes, Heath. Yes, Heath. That is what they have, but nobody really likes to go in them anymore.
Nobody wants to go to Minneapolis anymore, so.
No. You can wait and come when the new light rail comes out to where we live. What's the color rail going to be out here, Tom?
Chartreuse.
Purple for Prince. Hey, Joe, he just showed your car there.
What car?
Oh, I better look that up. I'll open my calendar.
Diana, remember the light rail is 35 years behind, so you know.
And 500 million over.
This is true. I should know that.
Yeah.
I don't have the modelers retreat even in my calendar. What the heck? God, Tim, you're ahead of me.
Well, Diana, I won't be there. My daughter's getting married that day, and they tell me I have to be there.
Yeah, you kind of do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got one job.
Yep. Well, if it's March 10th, we have 2 grandkids whose birthdays that day, so
Oh.
they're just going to be 16 and 13. It's okay.
Yeah.
Listen, Joe, you walk her down the aisle and no one looks at you for the rest of the day. So
Exactly.
come on.
No, they just want your checkbook.
Yeah,
No.
leave your checkbook.
You guys
Ask me how I know.
You guys are forgetting with the situation here. It ain't my checkbook. It's Mrs. Benish's checkbook.
Yeah, oh, true.
My checkbook has about $8 in it.
You were so smart, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the males are merely a necessary accessory at the wedding.
There's one of those open-sided buildings coming up.
So, Heath, what do you want for your 50th birthday? A GG1?
Wow, cold.
It's like getting a tour. I like this.
But you can have your Ensign Morgan with you.
Yeah.
We're going to ship him some.
So Joe won't be, if we do another live podcast from the modelers retreat, Joe won't be there. All right.
You guys won't have me there to kick around.
We'll just get a mannequin.
Yeah, there you go. I can still feel that.
All right. Yeah. A real GG1. Yeah, we should. Like
Oh,
that
Jamie, if
roasting
you don't want
one.
anything. Oh, I'm past 50. 50 was fun.
Yeah, she's one of these Fridays. We'd like a tour of the RT. Uh-oh. Dan gets it's cake day coming up too. We expect
I
cake
remember
next
50.
Friday.
Tom threw me a big party when I turned 50.
Hey, there's Rich's layout, Joe.
Was that? Oh yeah, look at that, a quarry.
I think Art Hill did that.
Oh. Age is just a number.
Yeah, you still got to sit at the kiddie table at the banquet. So.
Yeah.
See, we want you in the Anna Marie because somebody has to carry in the oxygen bottles at the conventions. Oh, look at that.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. That's impressive.
That's one of the tunnels between the buildings in downtown Minneapolis.
Yeah, that's the IDS building, Heath. See, I always wanted to do that, but have like an ant farm in there. You know?
Yeah. No, you got to have the big alligator in the sewer.
Didn't the box elder bugs count?
Yeah, same thing.
Oh, cool. I think I remember this now.
So I've never seen this part of it. That's got to be. Well, I haven't been there in 3 years, so.
The grandkids were short enough they could see everything that was low.
Uh-oh. Something's into what's he showing us now? Always got a flashlight.
That's where they keep the gummies.
It's a rescue.
Is
It's
this
a
what
rescue.
turns into a Stephen King novel?
Ouch. Yeah, no, they can't schedule the wedding. I tried.
Sure, Don, that'll go over well.
Yeah. Honey, you need to change this so I can go to trains. Yeah, that'd go over well.
Yeah.
My wife is only so tolerant.
Of your bass boat?
Yes, exactly.
I've met you. She must be very tolerant.
Hey now.
Well, you've met my husband. I must be very tolerant.
Well, yeah.
I'm
all
still
need it.
here, Diana.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot.
I know you can see me.
No, I can't see you right now. I can just hear you.
It's like Roy's just going home, but I forgot he's a left coaster, so it's only 6:30, 6:40 there.
You're not supposed to watch podcasts while you're driving, though, are you?
Yeah, Randy, my grandkids would like that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
If you had a Minecraft mind.
You got to do Roblox.
Roblox.
Yeah.
Ooh, look at that. There's an Ordock.
Hey, that looks familiar. I think there's one in my basement. That's not the Edmonds Fitzgerald, though.
Yeah.
Does he know that he's muted? We can't hear him. But this is fun.
I think this is below the layout.
It must be in front of one of the staging yards.
Yeah, I think this is like the lower because it's only like about 6 inches off the ground.
Yep.
So they have the younger guys do that, right?
I hope so.
Our basement isn't big enough. What? I tried to talk them into expanding underneath when we put on an addition, but Tom said no.
Hey, what's the name on those pulpwood gondolas back there?
We'll have to raise the roof and then we can have a layout upstairs.
No, you know my rule.
That's right. That's how you hooked me. You said that I could decorate anything however I wanted above ground and you got everything below ground.
Yeah.
It's reasonable.
And then
Is that a Teresa rule too, or is that a?
No. Teresa's rule is how much does it cost? You can't have it.
oh, there's the clouds.
Oh, there they are.
Yeah.
There you
It
go.
took a while to get there.
Scale
That's a
weather.
big layout.
They have somebody with a spray bottle then when it's raining?
Only when you show up.
Yeah. Hey, that's not water.
They wait for one of those pipes
Look
to
at all
break.
those trees.
Yeah, when the pipes burst, Dave says. Yeah.
I'm just thinking of making all those trees.
That's what football games are for.
How is it? They've
That's
been
what
there for.
grandkids are for.
Is it more than 10 years old now? When did they start? Start.
Well, he
the
said
club?
8 when we started with this tour. He said something about 8 years.
Well, it's,
No, it's been longer than that.
Has
yeah,
it?
I think it's 10 or 12 years.
I hate it when you guys are right.
And we're just guessing. So
Should I text him and say his sound's off? Okay, hang on a second.
Yeah, this is kind of fun this way.
Yeah, that's okay.
Poor guy.
but they've really accomplished a lot more scenery wise since
Yeah.
I've been there.
It's nice.
Oh,
There's the
yeah.
office. What are they doing there? Is that the school? Or?
Looks like a railroad office with a bunch of clerks lined up.
The boss hassling the secretaries.
There you go.
Oh, he's back. Is that
That's
the glass ceiling everyone talking
Ceiling. I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, it exists. It exists.
It's so nice.
That's a lot of effort.
We have to take the grandkids to see this again. The two
Yeah.
younger ones, they haven't seen this at all. They'll probably ask, Papa, when are you going to make yours this big?
Car cards and waybills.
Yes, exactly. That's the way the cool kids do it.
There's a question for you, Joe.
What's that? I can't see it. Hold on.
Plywood.
Yeah, plywood Pacific if I use MDF.
Is it still?
I think by definition, yes, but it's better than a railroad of lies. How's that?
Hey,
What?
says the guy with purple passenger trains.
Exactly.
Hey, so when is the waterfall gonna be put in?
Yeah, not on my layout.
Darn
I
it!
suppose I could have mini ha-ha falls.
There you go.
I believe there's a waterfall in the North Metro Club.
It's
Oh,
over by the coal mine.
I think you should just put
Next to
Multnomah
Gruesome
Falls in.
Casket. There's a Zephyr. I see a Burlington train, Dan. Good, David.
You know, there's just too much to see there, actually.
Yeah. Is that the wall of shame in the back? Oh, I
Those
mean
are
the
the-
wall of fame.
Those are the guys that haven't paid their dues for the month.
Yeah. You get moved up as the more months you don't pay.
Keith wants to know why you have purple passenger trains.
So in order to make more F units, I came up with the Central of Minnesota as a freelance line that has trackage rights over the Emmett St. Al and all the other railroads in the Twin Cities. And I made the mistake of asking my lovely bride, honey, what color should I paint this? And she says, oh, I like purple. You know, and I knew this. And I was like, oh, shoot. So now everybody teases me about having purple engines in passenger cars.
Just be glad you didn't ask my granddaughter. She would have said pink.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I would have said no to that. But since
Sure you
Teresa-
are. Crush a
since-
girl's heart.
Exactly. Isn't that why we're here? So Teresa finances the house that is around the layout, so I have to do what she tells me.
I'm gonna meet her one day.
Yeah. I think we'll probably not allow that.
Oh, listen to you. I want to thank her for allowing her husband to play with my husband to keep
Yes.
him out of my hair. So
Exactly.
supporting this hobby. I love this hobby. When my dad watched Tom take a piece of styrene, a flat piece of styrene, and turn it into a building, he was like, "Did you know he made a building out of this flat piece of styrene? I mean, it's flat, and he built a building." My dad was he couldn't believe it. He's like, "You're marrying him, aren't you?"
Right.
Cool.
I'm like, I don't know, Dad.
Yeah. I'd rather not.
That did it for us.
Yeah, that's right. Wasn't anything Tom did.
My dad wanted to marry him then. He thought it was great.
And I think there is a gazebo in St. Cloud on the railroad there, which, you know, they've kind of shot past to answer Tim's question. And that's the
There's a
Staples Depot.
Staples
isn't it?
Depot, yeah.
Yeah.
Does it have an UPA band in it, that gazebo?
It's
I
in
think they have
St.
a
Cloud.
bluegrass band.
A bluegrass band. There you go.
It's a roundabout. The turn.
Okay.
I
Still haven't got
seen,
around the whole layout.
I haven't seen a Thomas train on there. I'm kind of disappointed.
It's in the staging yard. That he's
is it?
pointing to it
Oh,
now.
that's where he's pointing.
Yeah. What do you mean you can't see it? It's right there.
It's way over there. I'm not going over there again. I'm exhausted. I need to sit down.
Well, it's at least 5,000 square feet. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
pretty.
Oh, that is huge. It is. Yeah, this is filled in more than the last time I was there.
I think some of those freight cars are in the same spot they were in the last time I was there, though. So
Ouch. That was mean.
Well, you know me.
Uh-huh.
But
Look
if
at how big that building. Look at how big that is, Heath. That's how big it is. It's the whole lower level of.
Was it a
Is that-
supermarket before, or was it a pawn shop, or it was a liquor store, or maybe it was a couple stores on the
I think it was a couple. It had to
on the
be.
main level.
Yeah, it's huge.
Huge, I tell you.
Huge.
Huge. Well, you'll be happy to know I got all
Yes.
of my grills on.
Yes, Tim. Polka band. You're right.
How many steps? There's like you have to climb up 3 steps to get to the top of the loading dock, or 4 steps, and then you go down
It's a long
12.
flight. Must be 20, Dave, don't you think?
Yeah,
25?
somewhere between 12 and 20 steps, I think. I think it would be a lutefisk band from Minnesota, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So,
The Ernie
we'll
Stubbs
go about
band.
6 more minutes. We'll cut it off at 2 hours.
Yeah. You didn't tell me it was going to be this long. I would have taken a nap today.
We're just waiting until Roy gets home. That's what
Nice. Yeah. The nice polka band. I got to put my railroad hat on. I didn't wear it.
No railroad hats.
Oh, look on my engineer's hat. I got a pink striped one. My granddaughter thinks it's cool.
Okay. There you go. Well, it looks good. Get a little shade out of it on a sunny day, I think.
Yes. When we go for a walk, this is the one she picks to wear. Jill's still working.
No, I got them all done.
Roy hasn't even gone home yet.
Got them all put on there, and they're all staying on, so I don't have to reglue them.
I think it's off of Coon Rapids Boulevard,
Yeah,
and it's about a mile north of where 610 or 10, whatever it is, it cuts across.
Yeah, isn't it by the VFW? Isn't that
Yeah,
where?
right.
Yeah, it's
Right next
door.
door to the VFW. That would have made more sense to say that, wouldn't it? Yeah.
That's okay. That's how I remember where it is.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's how I remember it.
Now, the next time I know, I can just come and watch Joe build stuff.
next week we'll build this underframe for an NW3. Actually, we won't. I'll be at an operating session.
Next Friday, I'm going to put up a Christmas tree. Not do anything with it, just put the tree up. Grandkids are decorating it.
Mine's out on the front porch waiting for that to happen.
So anybody got anything to announce? We got the flea market tomorrow. We have the TLR convention coming. And
The modelers retreat you talked about.
modelers retreat. Got a couple flea markets, not
Yep.
swap meets. And,
Yeah.
The
if you
Blue
guys
Tongue
like
Modelers.
this, if you guys have something to promote, let me know. We'll welcome you on the show. We'll have some clinics. And Joe's doing one. I had one on trees. I'm sure Dave can show us some stuff.
Ooh, I
Yeah.
want to see the tree one. When are you gonna do
Diana will
that?
show us how to sew some skirting. That's how she makes these great neck pads for the UT6.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
You
These
can
are
finance
nice.
your retirement on those, Tom.
I think so.
Somebody's retirement.
Yeah.
Retire when I'm 90.
That's soon, huh?
Thankfully, that's a few years away.
All right, everybody. Thank you and say good night.
Good night, Gracie.
Good night.
Coming
Good night.
by.
Yep. Stay tuned for further developments. Exactly.
Really.
Leaving.
Night. Night.